Before you can use the inventory module of Easy Maintenance to create requests for bid and purchase orders, you must enter your vendors into the program. In this tutorial video, we'll demonstrate how to do the following. View and search the list of vendors in Easy Maintenance. Enter new vendors into Easy Maintenance. Edit and delete existing vendors. Print a list of vendors. Print an information summary for a vendor. Print mailing labels for your vendors. To access the part of Easy Maintenance where you add vendors, click on the Vendor button from the Inventory main menu. This takes you to a window where you can see a list of all of the vendors that have been entered into Easy Maintenance so far. For each vendor, you can see their ID, their name, and their main phone number. There's also a search feature at the top of the window, which you can use to search for a vendor if you know their ID or their name. To use this search feature, first select one of the circles called Vendor ID or Name, and then enter the vendor ID or name of the vendor depending on what you selected. Then hit the Return key. If a vendor matches what you entered, it will be selected from the list. To enter a new vendor into Easy Maintenance, click on the New button at the bottom of the window. This opens up a window where you enter the information for the new vendor. First, you should enter the ID for the vendor into the Vendor ID field. This is a unique ID, which means that no other vendor in Easy Maintenance can have it, and it's typically an alphanumeric code. Then enter the actual name of the vendor in the Name field. Next, enter the contact information for the vendor on the left side of the screen. If the U.S. address checkbox is checked, then the list of states to choose from is limited to those in the list of states in Easy Maintenance, and the phone and fax numbers are constrained to U.S. format only. See video 6.3, Entering the List of States, for information on the list of states. Just below the vendor's contact information, there are two drop-down boxes called Terms and Preferred Status. This is where you select the payment terms you've agreed on with this vendor and their rating, respectively. The preferred status is simply your rating for the quality of this vendor. To the right of the contact information, you can enter a list of additional contacts. To add a new contact, simply click on the Add button. This will open up a window into which you can enter the information about the new contact. After entering all of the information, click on the OK button to save the contact, or click on the Cancel button if you've changed your mind and no longer want to enter the new contact. You can also edit existing contacts. Just select the contact you wish to edit by clicking on it, and then click on the Edit button. This will open up a window which is similar to the one in which you enter a new contact, except that all the information for that contact is already filled in. You can edit any of the information for the contact. Lastly, at the bottom of the window, there is a Notes field where you can enter any additional notes about this vendor. After you've finished entering all of the information for the vendor, then click on the OK button to save the new vendor into Easy Maintenance, or click on the Cancel button if you've changed your mind and no longer want to enter the vendor into Easy Maintenance. To edit a vendor, just select the vendor by clicking on it, and then click on the Edit button. This will open a window that's similar to the one at which you enter a new vendor, except here all of the information for the vendor you selected is already filled in. You can change any of the information on this screen except for the vendor ID. You can change the vendor's name, their main contact information, and their additional contacts, and the notes for the vendor. When you've finished making all of your changes, click on the OK button to save them. Or if you've changed your mind and no longer want to make any changes, click on the Cancel button instead. To print a list of vendors, click on the Vendor List button at the bottom of the window which lists your vendors. This will print out a report which shows the ID, the name, and the main phone number for each of the vendors which you've entered into Easy Maintenance. To print an information summary for a vendor, just open up the vendor for editing as we described earlier. Then click on the Print button near the bottom right corner of the window. This will print a report showing all of the information for the vendor, including their contact information and any additional contacts you've entered. Lastly, you can print mailing labels for your vendors. This can be done in two ways. You can print one mailing label each for all of your vendors, or you can print a sheet of mailing labels all for the same vendor. To print one mailing label each for all of your vendors, click on the Vendor Labels button at the screen which lists all of your vendors. This will print one or multiple sheets of labels, one label each for all of your vendors. To print a sheet containing multiple labels, all of which are for a single vendor, just open up the vendor for editing as we demonstrated earlier. Then click on the Mailing Label button near the lower right corner of the window.